The next speaker is and is not with us. And that means that in this hybrid world, we can actually be in more parts than one. Our next speaker is called Ingmar Rentzhog. He is founder and CEO of WeDon'tHaveTime.org, one of our media partners. He is an official eco-warrior according to The Sun. He's a serial entrepreneur and recognized at global level. He's a member of Al Gore's Climate Reality and European Climate Policy Task Force. He's running We Don't Have Time, which is the world's largest review platform for climate solutions, a member of the European Climate Policy Task Force, and advisory board member of Climate and Capital Media. We're going to make this a special moment. I kindly ask you not to get afraid, not the people on the online, but the people here. We're going to close the lights in a couple of seconds, and we're going to introduce to you Ingmar Rentzhog from Sweden.
Hello everyone, I would like to thank the organizer for hosting and inviting me to this amazing and very important conference about climate solutions. We have a big problem today, and that is that the climate movement is starting to lose momentum. I know many people that have reached out to me lately, and they're starting to tell that they are giving up. That the problem is too big to solve. I don't agree on that, because I have seen and witnessed how the momentum was gained and built up from the beginning. And I think we can do it again, and this time we will really make the change happen. My own journey into the climate was that I used to work in the finance industry, where I was running a financial communication firm in the Nordic market. We had big clients such as BlackRock, JP Morgan, UBS and Deutsche Bank and other financial players. It was quite successful, and I didn't really think of the future long time ahead. But everything changed for me when I got my first child, my daughter. I started to look into the future, and I started to read about the climate. And I got so shocked, because the information I took, that I read, was really terrible. It was not something happening in the future, in a distant future. It was something happening here and now. This was this huge crisis, and most people were not aware of this crisis. They thought that climate change was something in the future, something to fix later. And our leaders were not really acting on it. And my tipping point was when Donald Trump came into power in the US election 2016. That was the point for me when I realized that our world leaders will not fix this problem. They don't care. And Donald Trump were maybe just perhaps the first leader speaking the truth about it. And if they won't fix it, who will? That was a starting point to create a global platform that is today We Don't Have Time. We connect everyone that is working with solution to work together on a platform, to amplify that. And I quit my career in the finance industry and started to build We Don't Have Time. 2 years later, we launched this platform on Earth Day 2018. And we didn't want to do like everyone else. We wanted to do things differently. So instead of flying around the world and advocating for change, we wanted to have as less emission as possible. I haven't flown myself since I started We Don't Have Time 5 years ago. And we are today a very international organization. You can do that. And what we did 2018 when we launched We Don't Have Time was that we created the very first no-fly climate conference. We invited speakers from all around the world without having anyone flying. Today, many people do those digital events, but this was long before Corona. And one thing we wanted to achieve was that we wanted to change the narrative on how to talk about the climate. We wanted people to realize that this is a crisis that we need to solve now, that we don't have time to wait. That was not acceptable to say, because if you were telling the truth, people will just call you alarmist. So that was something we started to change back in 2018. And I'm now going to show you the short summary of that conference.
Oil drives you crazy. Oil corrupts politics. Oil buys politicians.
Some scientists are indicating we should make plans to adapt to a 4-degree hotter world. While prudent one wonders what portion of the population could adapt to such a world. My view is that it's just a few thousand people seeking refuge in the Arctic or Antarctica.
Business as usual means about 4 degrees warmer, which is approximately 1 ice age in the opposite direction. So this is really, really huge. And I need to stress this, that the Paris Agreement is not a walk in the park, it is half an ice age in the other direction.
One example that Martin raised in terms of sea level rise, based on today's temperatures, we are going to hit 2 meters of sea level rise, no matter what.
500 million people are affected in India alone.
Most of Europe will experience about 4 degrees of warming by the end of the century, which is pretty disastrous.
2017 was a record high for fossil fuel CO2 emissions.
We have to move to decarbonizing the world energy system.
And that means a lot of the known fossil research needs to stay in the ground.
We really need deep sustained cuts right now.
Previous speakers have made clear that we're coming into a very difficult time.
We are in a race against time.
It takes a double whammy to understand.
It takes repeated shocks.
Governments and the media simply cannot say that they did not know.
What the hell are they thinking?
We don't have time to speculate.
We don't have time is absolutely correct.
As we know, we don't have time.
There's no more time.
Yes, we don't have time.
We use the hashtag.
We don't have time.
We don't have much time.
We don't have time to wait. Something amazing happened to that after that conference. A lot of people, high-level people, influential people, were picking up the phrase, we don't have time. And suddenly we got a lot of change happening in how the conversation about the crisis. It was more okay to tell that this is a really a crisis we need to solve now, not later. But to change the global narrative is very hard, and of course we can't do that ourselves. But the climate movement had some very, very important thing going on just a couple of months later. And that was the now famous 15-year-old girl, Greta Thunberg. I happened to be there on her first day of the school strike. Someone had told me that there's going to be an activity in front of the parliament in Sweden. So I went there together with a colleague that have a camera. We didn't really know what to expect, but we wanted to report the story because we thought that this is something interesting, someone are trying a new thing, and we wanted to report that to our followers. We had gained so many followers since we had this first conference. So we really had a good international network. What we saw there at the site was very strange. You had this girl sitting in front of the parliament, totally alone. I never seen a more alone person before. And you had a lot of people, kind of busy street. They were just walking by. So we sat there for a while. We filmed those people walking by. And I walked and started to talk with the girl sitting there. And she told me what she was doing. She was striking until the Swedish election two weeks later. And she had some pamphlets with the message that we need to act now. It was very in line with the We Don't Have Time message. I asked her if she were willing to tell her message in front of the camera in English so that we could share it to our international audience. And she did that instantly, talked perfectly English. Was not planned or anything. So we recorded that, and back home we shared this message. And it got instantly viral. the world really wanted to hear about this. And it was so strong picture to see this lonely girl speaking truth to power with most people actually ignore the message. So what you have here is the very first 50 seconds of what today is the global Fridays for Future movement. So Greta Thunberg basically changed everything. Suddenly, world leaders invited her to take selfies of this girl, telling that we don't have time, that we need to act, that we are in a crisis. Governments started to communicate that we are in a climate emergency, and millions of people were taking to the street. We really saw the momentum growing there. And so many people started to realize and wake up about the situation we are in, that we really are in trouble, that we have a climate crisis. So many people opened their eyes because of Greta Thunberg. It's really truly amazing what she has done. But the time has passed and the world goes into other problems. First we had the pandemic. People were sitting at home. And after that we had this terrible war. So today the world is filled with those problems we have. Climate crisis, war, pandemics. And I think this is overwhelming people. This is the reason why people are giving up. They see so many problems in the world. And they also see those world leaders that had took selfies and told everyone we're going to act on this problem. They're totally ignoring it. We have a new election here in Sweden in 2 weeks from now. And the climate is not even on the agenda. And this is creating so much depression. And people are confused. People don't see how they can fight this anymore. So this is the reason why we now are risking of losing this momentum. So how can we change that? I believe that we now need to focus on the solutions. Because we need to show everyone that we actually have all the solutions. That is what your conference is all about. We have the solutions, but people are not aware about them. People don't know how many leaders, companies and organizations that are actually implementing those solutions today, and that we're moving fast and leaving the fossil fuel economy behind. People don't know that. We need to get people to know about that. We need people to engage in those solutions, share those solutions, embrace those solutions, and show it to our political leadership that we have the solutions, that we want the solutions, that we demand the solutions. Because we have no reasons anymore why we shouldn't change, why we shouldn't fix the climate crisis. We will build so much better societies by implementing those solutions. We don't have time to wait, and we don't have any reasons to wait. That is how we are going to give people hope. That is how we are motivating people to fight for something. That is how we get people on the street again. Let's create a movement and create awareness about the solutions. People need to know about the problem. They already do. So now we need to do the same thing and create those awareness about the solutions. And that is what we don't have time. We are working very actively on. And we have seen so many solutions. If you download the app, you will see and discover solutions every day. And you can also engage in this, share the solution, and reward all those that are actually implementing the solutions. So in June this year, we had this big conference, UN conference here in Stockholm. It was the 50 years anniversary for the very first environment conference that UN hosted back in 1972. And we don't have time, we have grown a lot, and we're doing a lot of those global no-fly broadcasts. So we did a broadcast together with UN. We've invited our partners, we've invited people and leaders and corporations that are actually acting on it. And that those people, those actors, wants the political leadership to do more. They demand that. And what I'm going to show you now is a short summary of some of the content from this conference, and you will see another message. It's not about the problem anymore. It's about the solution and awareness about how we should implement them on scale.
we have to mobilize the whole of society, not just national governments, but businesses, investors, whole value chains, cities, and civil society.
We have the solutions to halve emissions by 2030.
If we're going to solve this, I think it's very, very important that we believe that it's doable.
We used to be one of the most fossil fuel intensive companies in Europe, but we transformed.
And countries like India are going to post 88% of all the additional demand for electricity over the next 2 or 3 decades. So if we don't solve it for the emerging markets, if we don't solve it for the developing countries, then we don't solve it for anyone.
Energy efficiency, that is not an if, it's a must. It is the simple and impactful solution to a very complex crisis.
The other good thing about energy efficiency is that the solutions are already available. They just need to be implemented.
The customers are coming to us and demand reductions now. Not only because they want to stop climate change, but also to gain a competitive advantage in the climate transition in their sector and to avoid the CO2 tax coming.
Collaboration and the value chain perspective is key to making this happen at the speed that we need.
I am the Zero Emission Children's Health Campaigner, and I highlight the benefits that zero emission transport has on children's health.
The shift to electric vehicles is the single biggest and fastest destroyer of demand for oil.
There are no major obstacles left when it comes to technology. What we need to focus 100% on now is the large-scale adoption.
So to put it simple, we have no safe landing on a stable climate nor a livable planet without a food system transformation. We will not hold the 1.5 degrees Celsius landing zone on climate without a food system transformation.
We are running out of time. That's the fact.
1.3 billion metric tons of food is wasted every year. That food waste represents a solution that we need to address.
We're looking at transforming our supply chains, but having a bigger effect than that. Advocating for change, encouraging others to go in the same direction. Regenerative agriculture is not just about carbon, it's about biodiversity, it's about water, but really crucially, it's about better lives.
Now let's use technology to make the most exponential transformation needed so we can protect our planet and move towards a very sustainable future.
Thinking exponentially is exactly what we need to do.
Since 2020, we've reduced operational energy by 486 million kilowatt hours towards our goal of saving 4 billion kilowatt hours by 2030.
We have to scale up action. If we want to stand any chance of staying below 1.5 degrees, we need many, many more companies to be doing their part.
These are all examples of exponential climate action.
We're in this together. We have the solutions in our hands together. So join the movement and do it today.
Let's go get it done. Let's seize this critical decade and let's get to work.
So the first conference we did, we had 10,000 viewers. And the latest one, we had 30 million viewers. There's a great interest of solutions. And I really believe that we can create a momentum about it. And I think that's crucial. That's the missing part. And what you're doing here today, having this amazing conference about the climate solutions.
Let's give a big round of applause. Now, as you might have seen, Ingmar could not hear you, nor see you, but he was here with us, and I thank him live, and I know he is also watching us. And I want to thank Frame Advertising for making this hologram possible. If you look 10 years down the road in the future, why not actually have everyone here, but not here in the same time?